This is my presentation on the Soviet Union technologies in World War II. What were some of the technologies that they decided to use in World War II? So in the years after World War I, the Soviet Union realized how much their military and weapons and technology in general were very lacking compared to other countries. So during that interwar period from the end of World War I all the way up until the literal start of World War II, the Soviet Union knew they had to increase funding and spending in those departments, so that way they wouldn't be the laughing stock of World War II. Some of the weapons they decided, or technologies they decided to look into, were the use of chemical warfare, such as different poisonous gases they could use. They wanted to build some better equipped aircraft, better rockets, and better tanks. In the process of looking for different chemical warfare, there was a lot used in World War I on the Soviet citizens in general, and so during this interwar period, the Soviet Union knew they did not want to be victims of chemical warfare. They wanted to be the ones using that and getting like revenge basically on those countries that used it on them. They wanted some better equipped aircraft. The aircraft in World War I for the Soviet Union was not that great. So during the 1930s, Stalin really wanted to up the aircraft abilities. So he entered in several different aircraft competitions to help prove that the Soviet Union could stand on its own and not need help of others. However, in doing this, it allowed Germany and the other countries on the opposing side during World War II to see what their aircrafts lacked and how to make their aircrafts better. The Soviet Union also looked at different ways to use rockets. In the 1600s, they used some rockets that would leave a trail back to the firing station after they were fired. And this is obviously not good because it allows the enemy to see exactly where they're located and can easily target the Soviet Union. You also couldn't go very far with those rockets, so you'd have to be very close already, and then having a trail back to you was just not good. So in about the 1900s, so about 300 years later, a self-taught teacher decided he was going to find new ways for rockets to be used by the Soviet Union, and in doing that, it created two separate departments, ones that would go for space and then ones that would be for military. The military department of rockets ended up finding a rocket that would be perfect, that could go a farther distance and not leave a trail, and it was powderless. And then during World War I, the Soviet tanks were not equipped properly to last long in war. So in the years between World War I and World War II, they saw different conflicts. So they saw the Spanish Civil War, and then they had a few conflicts with the Japanese on their eastern side. And in these, the tanks were not built properly. So during the Spanish Civil War, the German tanks were a lot better. And they just didn't have the right weapons on the tanks. So after the Spanish Civil War and after the conflicts with the Japanese, the Soviet Union took it upon themselves to increase their tanks' abilities and better equip them with better machines. So during all of this interwar period, the Soviet Union relied heavily on the use of German scientists and engineers to help them go farther with their technologies. So the Soviet Union used the German scientists to help construct new weapons. So all these weapons that the Soviet Union was creating was not from their own scientists, it was actually from the Germans, because the Soviet Union did not have enough eligible men who were well-versed in the technological background. So instead of properly training the men and teaching them how to do all this for themselves, they would just barely train them and give them a little crash course on how to do these different weapons and things, and so it wasn't always the best stuff they were making. But could this be seen as a negative for the Soviet Union in the years leading up to World War II? Absolutely, because like I said, the Germans were helping build all these Soviet products. So the Germans knew exactly how these products worked, how far they would go, what it would take to destroy them and stuff. So the Germans always had better technology than the Soviet Union for this purpose. And why is it important that we know about the Soviet technologies in World War II? It helps us show how linked the Eastern Front was before World War II. Like I said, the Germans helped the Soviet Union, and then we all know that during World War II they were on two opposing sides. but it shows how much they were connected, and like they helped out, like Germany and the Soviet Union helped out in the Spanish Civil War in Spain. So everyone during that interwar period was very much like more connected than they were after the war. It was also interesting to see how their weaponry changed because of different trials they took. So like the planes, you could see before they started entering in competitions were not very good. And then after competitions, they actually had planes that were going farther distances and going up the highest and winning all these different competitions. So it really like sparked a fire in them to help get their stuff better. And prior to this, I personally thought that the Soviet Union, or Russia, was a top competitor in the weapons department. This gave a better view of their struggles and see all the struggles they overcome and how to get through all of it. So I found it very interesting to learn all this, and I hope you guys liked it.